Hey, this is Dr. Green. We're working on WebAssign Homework 7, problem number 11. So they want us to calculate something here called the phi correlation coefficient, or the phi correlation coefficient, two words to say that. But this is when you've got two dichotomous variables. So two variables that have only two outcomes. So in this example, we've got a therapist, and they're looking to see if there's a relationship between patient expectations that therapy will be successful, and then the actual success of the therapy. So here's a table that lays out the variables here. So the client expectations could be yes, therapy will be successful, or no, it's not. Then I got a total row on the bottom. And then up here on top, was the therapy successful? Yes or no? And then we've got column totals, and then go across and we've got a row total on the bottom. So row totals here, column totals down here. So we're going to calculate this both by hand. Well, actually, it's easier to calculate this by hand than it is in SPSS. So let's calculate it by hand, and then I'll let you research the SPSS if you want to do it that way. But the formula for this phi correlation coefficient, and this is on the exam 3 formula sheet that's in the course add-on section, is AD minus BC over the square root of ABCD. Okay, and you just have to know which of these numbers represent the lowercase letters and the uppercase letters. So let me show you what the general setup for your table is here. So this is the exam 3 formula sheet, and here's the general setup for a table when you've got two dichotomous variables and you want to do this phi correlation factor. So let's go ahead and grab that table, and let's bring that over here. So we can see that the lowercase a, b, c, and d are these numbers here. So the AD minus BC, AD minus BC, so you take the cross products and subtract them. So this is 45 times 27 on the top of the fraction. Minus this product here, which is 13 times 15. And then the numbers along the outside, except for n, which is the grand total, a, b, c, and d, are these four numbers here. So on the bottom, we are dividing by the square root of 58 times 42 times 60 times 40. And then just key that into the calculator, and you will get 0.422. Okay, so this is a positive correlation between these dichotomous variables. And now they ask us, using a two-tailed test at the O5 significance level, state our decision to retain or reject the null hypothesis. Again, the null hypothesis is they're not related, and the alternative hypothesis is that they are related. Now, if you just look at this data here for a second, you see if the client expects here, yes, that the therapy will work, 45 there, and then does the therapy actually work up here? That's 45. So 45, that expect it'll work, it actually works. But down here, you see on the no for expectations, 15 expected it to work, but it actually worked. So the people that expected it to work, there's a higher proportion of those people for which it actually did work. And then you look here under, we've got no and no. So here, if the client expects it, therapy will not be successful, there's a greater number of people that actually don't have successful therapy. So it looks like expectations are related to the therapy outcome here. So it looks like there's a relationship, but we actually have to check it. These are the steps to check it by hand. We have to compute this quantity chi-squared. I know that looks like an X, but it's a Greek letter chi, which you take your phi correlation coefficient, square it, and multiply it by the grand total. So if we do that here, this is step 1. Our phi squared is going to be r sub phi squared times the grand total. So we take that 0.422 and we square it. And we multiply it by the grand total of 100. And if you do that, you will get 17.81. And then we have to use the table on table B7 on page 669 of the book and find the critical value that goes with the alpha that we're looking at. And our alpha is right here, 0.05. So the critical value for the chi-squared with 1 degree of freedom and 0.05 significance. So let's go to that table. So here's the table, page 669 in the back of the book, critical values for chi-squared. And you see that looks like an x squared. So our level of significance right here, 0.05, and our degrees of freedom, 1. So this value is the correct one. The 3.84 is what we want. So let's go back. So that's our critical value, 3.84. That's step 2. And then step 3 is if your test statistic is greater than the critical value, you reject H0. Well, here's our test statistic, 17.81, and that is indeed, last time I checked, greater than 3.84. So we are going to reject the null hypothesis. So we're going to conclude that the factors are indeed related, the expectations of success and the actual success of the therapy.